Good afternoon, years 3 and 4. Thank you for having me. JPS is a very special school to me, of course, because my both kids have been attending this school for 4 years now. So I was thrilled to be invited. Thank you, Diana and Elizabeth, for having me. I was invited to talk about my inspiration for writing and a little bit about myself, why I started to write. And I'd like to share a little bit of story of myself and my life when I was your age. When I was at your age, I was an avid reader. My family, both my kids and my husband said I was a bookworm. I used to read a lot of Enid Blyton books. She was my favorite author at the time. And I liked reading about the Secret Seven because they were always involved in adventure, and there was always this evil scheme by adults and they were able to escape. Later on, I got addicted to the Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys series. You like that? And later on, as I got to higher grades, I read about the secret agent Nick Carter, and then I spent quite a bit of time reading about Perry Mason, who is a criminal lawyer. So I always liked adventure books. But as I got to grades pre-university and into my university years, my workload was too heavy to keep up with fictional reading. And then I started to work, and I was a very busy person. I was involved in business associations. And even while I worked, I started to study at my masters, etc. So many years went by, and I didn't really have time to read much. So that's one thing you must appreciate at this age. You have to take full advantage of where you are in life and immerse yourself in as many novels as you can. Lose yourself in imagination. Because we miss it when we get older. I have adults in the room and I'm sure they can. So in fact, I missed it so much. At a certain age in my life, I said, I'm going to change my life where I spend time immersing myself in imaginative worlds. And I thought best I would start writing. I didn't know if I did write, but I said I would. And when, as adults will know, things get in your way, you have kids, you have your job, you have a lot of things to manage. But when that age came, and I knew it was my goals, I sat down and I actually started writing. I started with sentences, and I have a little video. I'll just share the video with you as to how I started. Yeah. Hello, I'm Shireen H.M., and I'm here to tell you about my exciting new fantasy novel. It is called The Code of Seven, Book 1, The New World Order. The Code of Seven is 7 individuals who live in different worlds, whose lives, when interconnected, create a tremendous force that opens a portal between worlds. I decided to write this novel 7 years ago. I suppose 7 is a lucky number for me. There was a period in my life I was reflective, and I realized I'm happiest when I'm imaginative or creative. For 2 months, I wrote just sentences, anything that came to my mind. After those 2 months, I realized I was more observant, I was able to write more details about certain things, and from then on, I took 2 years as an evolution to write my first novel. Unknown to either of them, their close proximity. Okay. So that's a little bit about me, and now I'll talk about what inspires my writing, because I think that they wanted me to touch on that. First, I'll give credit to my kids. They're not in the room, but some of you may know them. You kids are just the most imaginative. You're in a perfect time in your life, and I was influenced a lot by my kids when I spoke about my ideas. They came up with ideas, and they really prompted me through my journey in writing the novels. And for that, I give a lot of credit to JPS and the teachers, because we all come from different countries. And at JPS, I find I have to give a lot of credit. There's an immense amount of effort in producing an environment that encourages kids to bring out their creativity and their imagination. So please, let's give a round of applause to the teachers and the curriculum development. And I would like to give a round of applause to yourselves, because it is not only my children, but it was their friends who are around them that allowed them to also be creative and happy. Because to me, happiness brings out positive hormones and brings out your creativity. So please give a round to yourself. One of the other things that influenced my writing, and again it's to do with humans, it's my travel. We love traveling. I love visiting different countries, learning about different cultures. So when I started to think about this novel, I wanted to put main characters but from different backgrounds. So I would like to write a series of 5, and I finished book 1 and I've started book 2. And book 1 is about the 2 main characters are Eva and Nathaniel. And Eva is from the Andean region. I didn't say the country, but it was influenced by my travel to Machu Picchu in Peru. And Nathaniel is from a modern city, which is influenced by my stay here in Dubai. I've called the city Haley Blue. But when you see the book cover and when you hear some of the descriptions, I draw a lot on the location in Dubai. So another thing, the next slide. Another thing that influenced my writing, and you would see at the beginning of my book, I spoke about the inner voice. Because in my life, I had a lot of decisions to make about changes. So for instance, in my home country, I was in investment banking, and I met this group of a company group that wanted to build universities in Africa. And I made a decision to help, to change jobs actually, to work with them. I was structuring financing to build universities. And a lot of my friends and relatives thought I was crazy, Africa is such a, it's dangerous and it's so far away and what have you. But I listened to my inner voice, and with the support of my immediate family, I made the change, and it led to, a wonderful journey to where I am today. I'm happy I made that. So don't ever forget your inner voice. To me, it's going to get you to your final destiny. One other thing that I try to put in some implicit messages in the novel, because I'm also very environmentally conscious. I'm frequent litter control. So when Nathaniel, for instance, when I introduced Nathaniel in the chapter, he was working on some projects about cleaner technologies, and his dad was in investment banking in trying to finance geothermal plants, which is cleaner technology. So I tried to bring in hidden messages in the novel. When I spoke about Akroon, he's from a different planet, but I drew on the conflicts in Africa, for instance. And so as you read, there's a lot of hidden messages in the novel. And I can actually tell you about the novel, but I heard you have some questions. So in my year 5 and year 6 assembly, I actually allowed the questions as opposed to talking about the book, and I found that was more productive. So if you have, I'd like to actually open up for questions, and that would be better for me. This is the first hand up. Yes. Like I said, it was because I wanted to spend time immersing myself in imaginative worlds. So I made a decision to put the time in my life to do that. I started on weekends, and I went from there. Just to... I started by hand. It was very true in the video. For 2 months I wrote sentences because I actually had to reset my mind, because when you're working, you're very methodological. I do believe you use one side of your mind. Well, teachers, they have to be creative in their jobs as well. I just wrote with flowing thoughts. You know when you do poems, how you write just with feelings by observation? So I started handwriting, but then eventually you have to put structure. I went to the computer. So now I use both. I would write little notes when things come to my mind, but for final structure, I go to the computer. This is my first novel. I'm on my second novel. I took 2 years to write this book because I did do it part-time, but yes, 2 years. 2.5 years, this last year. I am pretty, in some ways, yes, because I have more popularity from my job now. I'm the president of an education consultancy firm, and I've been on TV interviews, etc. So yes, I think so. I am on the internet, you can search me up, yes. I do, should we get some, yes. Some authors who write full-time, they wake up early and they have their breakfast, etc. Very much like yourself. But then they go straight into writing. And when they have writer's block, when they can't think, they leave it and they do something else. To just get their creativity back or get their juices flowing, as they say. Like I said, it's just to immerse myself in the imaginative world, because when you, not criticizing real life, but when you have to go through a routine in life, you lose the imagination, you lose that time spent in the creative world. I guess it was from the influence of my first set of readings, which was the Secret Seven, so that came to my mind. And I also believe there's 7 levels, they say the 7 steps to heaven. So that also kind of influenced the Code of 7, because I did create 7 different words. Yes, they do. In book 1, I spoke about Eve and Nathaniel, but they don't know their powers until much later, which is like all of us actually. You don't know your full potential until it evolves from you, and all of us have powers, so to speak. Your strengths, so to speak. How do it draws, the characters are drawn from people around me and those who I've met. I think my travels and visiting different parts of the world has influenced how I've developed characters. But it's observing people around me, because I have employees as well. So as a manager, you understand how people react. So my characters are drawn from people around me. Friends who are authors? Yes. I just met an author who won the Monte Grappa Prize. I forgot her name. That's Lisa Fenwick. But most of my friends at the moment are from my corporate life, and I'm now being introduced to a lot of authors and people who have just published. Anne Millen. Yeah. So, but I don't know any of the famous ones just yet. Pretty soon I will. 2.5 years ago. Like I said, it's from probably the book Secret 7, and also from the 7 Steps of Heaven, so to speak.
You'll remember, after speaking is also listening, so if you hear the answers to your questions before, put your hand down or give it to each other as well. Okay? Mike's over there in blue and yellow at the back, just waiting for us.
2.5 years. Oh, sorry. I published last year, so 1 year. Less than 1 year. in their own way. One would always be close to me because it was my first one, and it was an evolution for me. But two I'm really excited about, because two is where I'm going to let all 7 characters meet, and I'm very excited about that. So they both have different feelings.
The light is good question, Malika.
What tips would you give to aspiring writers?
What tips?
Would you give to aspiring writers?
Tips, huh?
Yeah.
First of all, don't give up, because I know a lot of people want to write, and the life gets the better of them. So first, don't give up. And even when you're writing, there will be times that you want to leave it because you don't know what next step to go to. So again, it comes to don't give up. You give yourself a break, and then you go back to it. Always stick to trying to finish it.
What's your favourite character in life?
Eva. Eva, she's the first one, the first chapter. She's in a simple village, but she dreams of being in different places and visiting different places, a little bit like myself. And I grew up in the Caribbean, so. Could not believe it. I pinched myself because, yeah, it was a dream come true for me. And thank you for having me.